Welcome everyone to the season premiere of Smash Spec, the show where I spotlight a character and theorize on how they could work as a future fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The first Fighter's Pass is nearly complete. We now know that the 5th DLC character in the Fighter Pass is going to be Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses. But we also know that when Byleth releases, we can also buy the Fighter Pass Volume 2, giving us access to 6 more characters when they release, plus instant access to the Ancient Armor Mii costume from Breath of the Wild. With 6 more characters on the way, we still have many more possibilities to speculate on future characters. So let's hop into another episode and speculate on another potential fighter in Smash Spec. Kingmaker is a phrase sometimes used to describe the Smash Bros. Series, as it has an uncanny ability to revitalize a franchise or introduce it to a whole new market. Melee introduced the Western world to Marth and Roy from Fire Emblem, and is not only now one of Nintendo's biggest franchises, but is also one of the most represented franchises in Smash. Brawl reintroduced us to Pit from the Kid Icarus series, which led to the fan-favorite Kid Icarus Uprising on the Nintendo 3DS. Being added as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Isn't just an honor to great gaming characters, it can also be the key to bringing them back and making them relevant again. And if there is one game series that desperately needs a revival, it is Dead Space. Released in 2008, Dead Space was a sci-fi survival horror game that became somewhat of a surprise hit produced by Electronic Arts and developed by Visceral Games. Dead Space and its 2 sequels released on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, with a spin-off released for the Nintendo Wii. And with another well-loved iconic game series, you of course have another iconic game protagonist, Isaac Clarke. In the original game, he was merely an engineer sent to repair the damaged vessel, the USG Ishimura, but soon became the only thing standing between humanity and a race of vicious alien creatures called necromorphs. Monstrous creatures born from the corpses of slaughtered humans. While he's not exactly a stranger to this type of game either, since he did appear in Sony's version of Smash Bros. PlayStation ALLSTARS Battle Royale, if he were chosen to be in Smash, he could be the first character to appear in both. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you to hit that like button, and I wanted to give a special shout out to Zayn Mitchell for suggesting this character for Smash Spec. So now, keep your plasma cutter handy, folks, as we speculate on how the Marker Killer Isaac Clarke could work as a future fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Each Dead Space game has featured multiple costumes for Isaac to wear. However, each game has also had its default outfit for him too. While they could easily make multiple costumes for Isaac in Smash, I think it would be best to focus on one, and I think his default suit from Dead Space 2 is the most iconic. Usually, I also like to highlight different characters that could provide inspiration for all of the color alts. But Dead Space is a game with few NPCs outside of the necromorphs, and the ones that are there don't really have a whole lot of variety to their color options. So I think it would be better to take inspirations from many of the other suits that Isaac has in all 3 games. Even the standard suit in Dead Space 2 has several recolors already in the game. Obviously, we have the colors for his main suits in each game, but there is also a wide selection of color options for the remaining slots. And as far as the possibility for an Echo Fighter for Isaac, We already have a perfect candidate. In Dead Space 3, EA and Visceral Games decided to add co-op to the experience, allowing the second player to control the new character, John Carver. Since he played exactly the same as Isaac, he would make a perfect Echo fighter in Smash Bros. So the Appearance segment was a bit short this time around, I know, but let's go ahead and move to the moveset segment for Mr. Clarke. Now, we are getting into the real meat of the analysis. Isaac Clarke may not be a soldier, but he is no slouch when it comes to handling firearms. Plus, he has a few other cool tricks built into his suit. Starting with Isaac's neutral smash. This would have to use his iconic plasma cutter, which has been the go-to weapon since the first game. Isaac's side smash could simply use his melee attack. When not aiming a weapon and the player hits the right trigger, Isaac will swing and throw punches to knock back enemies. And when he hits the right bumper, or L1 if you're playing on PlayStation, he always did a ground stomp, which could work perfectly for his down smash. His up smash would most likely be similar to his side, but swinging above himself with the plasma cutter. This could have it firing, or even taking a little inspiration from the animated Dead Space movie Dead Space Downfall. In that film, the plasma cutter seemed more like a lightsaber chainsaw, so that could be swung overhead for a great up smash. And Isaac's special attacks would bring in more of his suit abilities. For the neutral special, I think it would be best to use the stasis module. In Dead Space, Isaac could use stasis to greatly slow down enemies, making them easier to take down, and also slow objects when needing to avoid them. In Smash, he could use stasis to slow down other players or projectiles fired or thrown by opponents. However, in order to keep this from being overpowered, much like in the Dead Space games themselves, this attack would either have to be a limited use or one that has to recharge over time. For the side special, the Kinesis ability would be best. The TK Kinesis module in Dead Space allowed players to grab objects, either pulling them close, moving objects, or throw objects like explosives or spikes at enemies. His up special or recovery should utilize the air and rocket jets Isaac uses whenever he's in a zero-G environment, propelling himself upward and possibly hovering for a bit. And for the down special, I actually had a hard time figuring this one out. I wanted to bring in some of Isaac's other weapons from Dead Space, but I couldn't decide on which one would work best. The line gun, the detonator, javelin, pulse rifle, or even the flamethrower, all great choices, but I would probably go with the line gun if it were my choice, firing a low sweeping shot close to the ground, tripping up other players. And a lot of the other weapons could still be worked in for the aerial and tilt attacks. And now we come to the final smash. This is one I also had a little bit of a hard time figuring out what would really work best. I know in PlayStation ALLSTARS, he had an attack knocking players into space and attacking them while weightless. But I don't really like that attack. Ultimately, I decided the best option would be the Convergence, or Make Us Whole Again. The story in the Dead Space games always centered around the Markers, relics from an unknown origin that contain vast power but also cause insanity and eventually outbreaks of necromorphs. When enough necromorphs have been created, the Markers activate what is called the Convergence, pulling all organic material into it and forming a Brethren moon. Using this as his final smash, you could see a red marker spring up into the stage and activate, pulling players into it, and on contact with the marker, it will cause massive damage before exploding and launching any players caught in it. And now, it's time to discuss the Dead Space stage that would have to be added if Isaac were brought into Smash Brothers. Each game has had its own distinct location the game has been set on. Dead Space 2 had Titan Station, while Dead Space 3 was primarily set on a Hoth-like planet Tau Volantis. Each can be worked into great stages, but when looking at locations from Dead Space, you just don't get any more iconic than the USG Ishimura, the ship from the very first game. If set here, I think it would be best to place fighters on top of the tram car, which is used to move the player around the ship in the game. This could allow fighters to be moved to different places on board the Ishimura, so that multiple memorable locations of the game can be showcased. Different areas could allow for background cameos / stage hazards featuring different necromorphs, be it some of the standard enemies or some of the bosses like the Leviathan or the Hunter. And that covers another character possibility as a future Smash fighter. I hope you all enjoyed my analysis of Isaac Clarke from Dead Space. While I think his games are a little too graphic and gory for him to be properly represented, I would still love to see him get added into Smash at some point. Whether or not Electronic Arts would allow that or not is probably the biggest hurdle that he would have to get in. Who else would like to see Isaac Clarke make it into Super Smash Bros. Someday? Who wishes EA would finally answer our prayers and give us Dead Space 4 already? Feel free to discuss with other fans in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope you continue watching as I continue spotlighting future candidates. I'll see you next time. Next time on Smash Spec.